please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, after nearly 2 years, the Reserve Bank has finally finished counting the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes that were withdrawn in 2016. The result? Well, almost all the notes, that's 99.3%, back in the system. Here are the numbers. 15.4 lakh crore rupee notes were withdrawn. 15.3 lakh crore rupees is now back with the banking system, acknowledged today by the Reserve Bank. This is 99.3% of the total notes that were sucked out of circulation. Now, just weeks after demonetisation, the then Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi had told the Supreme Court that the decision would wipe out 4 to 5 lakh crore rupees worth of illicit cash. That has clearly not happened. The exercise has also cost the economy, with the RBI itself acknowledging the same. They're saying that there was a loss of speed in the real GDP. The note ban exercise did have a significant impact on GDP growth. India lost its status as the world's fastest growing economy soon after the decision. Growth dropped from 8% in FY16 to 7.1% in FY17 and then to 6.7% in FY18. For this financial year, growth is expected to pick up to 7.4%. There have, though, been some benefits, according to the government. Finance Minister Jaitley said demonetisation led to a lot of people in possession of undeclared cash depositing the same in the banking system. He says the source of the money is now questioned. Almost 18 lakh people were identified who have made deposits disproportionate to their income. This is what the Finance Minister stated on the 29th of June 2018. The government also claims that the demonetisation exercise has helped increase India's tax base, specifically the direct tax base. India's digital economy is also on the rise. A Credit Suisse report expects the market size to hit 23 lakh crores in 5 years. The same report also points out that cash is still king. 70% of all transactions in India are cash-based even now. So even as the digital economy starts to pick up, critics still argue that going cashless was not the stated aim of the Prime Minister when he made his speech on the 8th of November last year. The word black money was mentioned 18 times and fake or counterfeit currency was mentioned 5 times in his speech. And there was no mentions of the word cashless or digital. But in a speech 20 days after the decision, there was a drastic change in the choice of words used by the Prime Minister, and the narrative changed to digital and cashless. These words were used thrice as much as the words black money, and there was no mention of the words fake or counterfeit currency. Well, that's the story of demonetisation over the past 2 years. Expectedly, the opposition parties are now suggesting that the government must apologise. They say that the Reserve Bank's annual report today is a vindication of their position. In fact, I spoke with the former Finance Minister P Chidambaram after the Reserve Bank released the data. He believes that it is time for the government to say mea culpa.
The government shifts its goalposts month to month, sometimes even week to week. Why did they tell the Supreme Court that they expect that 3 to 4 lakh crore rupees will not return to the Reserve Bank of India? They will be demonetized, and that's a windfall gain to the RBI, which will be transferred to the Government of India. Did they make that statement or not? The government should answer, yes, we made the statement, or no, we did not make the statement. Bluff and bluster will not wish away that statement they made. As regards money returned to the Reserve Bank of India, who is to decide whether it's black or white until a final decision is taken? It's obvious that people have laundered their black money, and the banking system had no way to reject it as long as someone stood in a queue and deposited the money in a bank, and that was sent to the Reserve Bank of India, which has now counted it and finally reported that practically every rupee has come back, 99.3%. Now, whether it's black money or white money is a long process. No minister can pronounce all that money is black, just as no one can pronounce all that money is accounted for in white. Each case has to be adjudicated. It will be subject to appeal, a further appeal, writ petitions, appeals, and until it's finally adjudicated, and when it is finally adjudicated, we'll know the result. At the moment, the truth is that 99.3% has returned to the Reserve Bank of India. contrary to the declarations of the government. And government must say, Mea Culpa.
Oh. On the issue, sir, of the sustained increase in direct filers, because that is the argument again that the government is giving, that demonetization along with GST has had a significant impact on governance as well as the government policies on enhancing direct tax collections. Do you believe that if this were to be acknowledged today by the government as a stated objective, then perhaps demonetization has made some difference?
No, the same result could have been achieved by less disruptive, less painful, less destructive means. Go back and look at the secular increase in the number of filers year after year after year. When we sharply reduced income tax rates in 1997, for the next few years, the number of filers increased. Again, when we rationalized some income tax provisions, the number of filers rose. So the same result could have been achieved by automation, by digitization, by third-party reporting, a number of other ways in which the same result could have been achieved without destroying lives of thousands and thousands of people and without destroying thousands and thousands of small and medium enterprises. And look at the price the country has paid. A 1.5% decline in GDP means 2.25 lakh crore a year, 2,25,000 lakh crore a year. Now, who's going to bear accountability or responsibility for that? The same result could have been achieved by avoiding demonetization and by implementing GST in a better and more efficient manner.
Mr. Chidambaram, you know, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance is looking at the issue of demonetization. The Standing Committee of Finance is headed by your party colleague, Mr. Veerappa Moily. I spoke with him yesterday. I also spoke with other members of the committee, including Mr. Dinesh Trivedi. And Mr. Trivedi was of the view that the Parliamentary Committee on Finance must put forward its report. It must finalize its report, and the deliberations have been going on endlessly. Mr. Moily's view is that some matters require further deliberation. So the fate of this parliamentary committee report on the impact of demonetization itself is uncertain. Your thoughts on that?
Of course, the report must be published and placed before Parliament. I'm not a member of the committee, so I don't know what the current state of affairs is. But as a matter of principle, when a parliamentary committee deliberates on a subject matter, it must place its report before Parliament.
But do you believe that Mr. Moily says that all the reports under his chairmanship so far have been unanimous, and it seems very clear that the 17 BJP members on the Parliamentary Standing Committee of Finance do not perhaps agree with the committee's recommendations as well as the committee's findings, and hence there may have been the possibility of dissenting reports and dissenting notes. Do you believe that that in the quest for unanimity we might see this report not see the light of day?
I don't know. I can't comment on a basis of speculative stories. I can't. It's a parliamentary committee, and if there are dissents, let there be dissenting notes. What's wrong? Dissent is the very lifeline of debate. So let there be as many dissents as necessary, but let a report come to Parliament.
Okay, let me end then by asking you, Mr. Chidambaram, about the state of the economy according to the Reserve Bank's annual report as well, of course, saying that India is not immune to bouts of financial market turmoil. What we are seeing today is a concern and a worry as far as the current account deficit is concerned. The rupee continues to depreciate, albeit in a calibrated and gradual fashion. Your thoughts on the CAD, the rupee, and the state of the economy?
Well, the state of the economy is a cause for worry. The RBI articulates the worry much later than many other economists have done. We are pretty certain that given the current trends, the government will not be able to meet the fiscal deficit target. The current account deficit will certainly cross 2 and maybe touch 2.5. The rupee will depreciate a little more, but whether that's good or bad is a different debate. And the investment will continue to remain in the doldrums, and credit squeeze to small and medium units will continue. When all these 5 indicators that I've said, and many more that many economists have added, points to an economy that is being incompetently managed.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chidambaram, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. That's the former finance minister saying that the demonetization exercise was an exercise in futility and cost the Indian economy significantly, both in terms of growth and in terms of economic output. Well, that's the former finance minister, and joining us now is the finance minister of West Bengal, Dr. Amit Mitra. Dr. Mitra, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Your Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, sir, has been a very vociferous critic of demonetization. In fact, she had called the whole process a flop show. She had also asked for an investigation into demonetization. The government's argument is, don't look at this exercise only from the prism of the notes that have been returned into the banking system. It's much wider than that.
Well, I think, first of all, let me submit that within half an hour of the announcement of demonetization, as you correctly said, Mamata Banerjee responded intuitively, saying that this is going to be a major anti-people action, as she felt. Now, today, the Reserve Bank of India's data vindicates what she was saying. Question she's asking today, and I'm asking, is where is the black money? Question 2, could one even speculate that someone knew that the black money by some people would be successfully converted to white? In trying to pursue this, this is a question that's going to come up. Now, you may say some investigations here and there, but it's a very serious question. No black money was revealed. And in the process, some people may have converted their black money into white successfully. Now, the third question is, who are the ones who are most badly hurt? Informal sector, small and medium enterprises, agricultural sector, the youth, the relatively poor, the 10,000 crores that did not come back only. 99.35% has come back, but the 10,000 crores that didn't come back, basically homemaker women, the poor, the middle class, those who are legitimate entities of our society have been hurt. Aside from the massive informal sector which employs a large number of people, small and medium enterprises which employ perhaps the largest portion of people, agriculture, cash-based supply chain agriculture completely collapsed. Now, what is may I ask, what is the proof of the pudding? Lies in the eating. What happened to GDP? Yes, 2.5 lakh crores was extinguished. Economy was growing as 8.1% before demonetization. Falls to 7.1, then falls to 6.7. This involves extinguishing forever 2.5 lakh crores to the nation's wealth in terms of value added. Now you go next to the industry. What happened to industry? You may not be aware, your viewers may not be aware, industrial growth declined by 20% from 6.78 to 5.54. What happens to manufacturing? Declines by 27.34% due to demonetization. And then you come to agriculture. You'll be surprised to know agricultural growth declined by half, by 50%, from 6.29% growth in 16-17 post demonetization. It comes down to 3.37%.
Yes.
These are indications that demonetization followed by an absolutely unprepared GST has deeply hurt the Indian economy, and no change in narrative is going to be of any help, because everybody can see through this that there is something very, very uncomfortable happening, which is costing the people of India. Today, according to the Reserve Bank's annual report, absolutely clear.
No, you know, the numbers bear out the truth in terms of the slowdown that the economy witnessed on account of demonetisation and GST. But the numbers also now start to bear out the fact that we are on the path of recovery and perhaps closer to a 7.5% kind of growth rate. But Dr. Mitra, you know, let me ask you this now, sir. You know, the fact of the matter is that the government says, you know, you're misreading the narrative, that you're being myopic when you see demonetisation and its impact only as the banknotes being returned. Look at the growth as far as the digital economy is concerned. Digital transactions at record highs. So we are eventually moving towards a less cash society. That may not be the case currently, where cash continues to be king. Direct tax filers have gone up significantly, which will enhance India's tax base. That is another claim being made by the government. They're saying, give us 3 to 5 years for the full impact of this exercise to be made clear.
Well, I think people will judge about the 5 years, because the election is round the corner in 2019. And we think the people will speak with great clarity. You're talking about digitization increasing. First of all, please understand, digitization was moving forward on its own momentum much before the demonetization started.
Yeah.
And if you look at for example, you take a regression analysis, put the dots and see the rate of growth, you will see that there has been a steady increase in digitization. But I must point out to you, the poor, the informal sector and small industries are still not a part of the digitization. I'll give you a physical example. Person who works with us, he goes to the bank, and the bank says, no, your account is frozen because you have to bring a tax card. You have to bring that card which shows that you pay taxes. Now, can he do that? Another woman comes and says to us, look, my account is choked because they are saying I have to now communicate by email. So we must understand that we must rise to the 35,000 feet and look down. And you will see the common people completely not only left out, but being emasculated by a hurried process where they have not been carried. It's not digital divide. It's a divide between the poor, the rural, the small entrepreneurs who are being left out. And please understand, the cash economy of India, as one of your important statements, interview before me suggested, is significant. It will take its own development time. Please understand, Germany has 53% of cash economy. United States has significant, after 200 years of capitalism and digitization, which has been total in those countries. So the point is, by changing the narrative, you cannot escape the culpability that you said to the public through your Advocate General that 3 to 4 lakh crores will be caught as black money. What has happened? You have to explain to the public. And 2009, I think people will listen. What happened to Swiss bank accounts? You say in the election campaign that everybody will get 15 lakhs of rupees in the bank account. Great. And then later when people challenge you, you say it's Jumla. What is a Jumla? I'd never heard of that word before.
Yeah.
Some kind of a joke. So the question is, today RBI's report
I want to stick with demonetization,
very clearly shows that Jumlas after Jumlas after Jumlas.
Okay, the Jumla economics is at play is your contention. But let me ask you this, sir, because I spoke with your party colleague Dinesh Trivedi, who's a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, and his objection to the fact that the report on demonetization is not being finalized. In fact, the committee's tenure ends on the 31st of August, and he said that the nation has the right to know. RBI governor, finance ministry officials, other government officials have deposed to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, and yet we do not have the report being finalized. Is this going to be something that the TMC will now continue to take forward politically in the next session of Parliament as well?
Absolutely. You see, in parliamentary committees, as you know, there are people from every political party, particularly the ruling party as well. The people would like to know why the committee report has not been finalized. What obstructions may have been placed by certain individuals for their own ideological reasons or their own political reasons. All this has to come out in the public. 31st of August is not far away. I can guarantee you, if it was an objective report, which I expect it to be, you will find it will echo what Reserve Bank of India has said today and what Mamata Banerjee said within half an hour of demonetization. Vindication of everything that we have said. Since you asked about TMC, let me tell you, it's a vindication of TMC's position articulated by the Chief Minister, President of the party. Today people are saying, yes, we understand. When everything has come back, some people have converted their black money successfully into white. Is this something that the government knew will happen? Excuse me, which is the bank in which the largest amount of black money was put in Cooperative Bank? Do you recall? 3,111 crores were put into a Gujarat Cooperative Bank, in which till 2000 the chairman was the current president of BJP, who continued to remain in the board of directors. These are questions that one has to look into. Who was going to benefit out of this? I'm not sure. I think history is going to judge the ruling party on these grounds.
History will judge the ruling party on demonetization, which the BJP says has been a success. The Trinamool and the Congress claim it is an exercise in futility. Mamata Banerjee calling it a flop show, the opposition demanding the Prime Minister's apology. Dr. Mitra, always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. Time for a break, but don't go anywhere.
May I say that the culpability...
R. Gandhi, who was at...
May I say, Shereen...
Go ahead, sir.
Shereen, may I say the culpability question must also be answered. Culpability question must also be answered. Why mislead the public by saying 3 to 4 lakh crores will come back? And today's report is a news peg. It hasn't. Government has to come out and tell the truth to the public and say, we are sorry, this is something that we didn't do. And many governments in these situations elsewhere in the developed world would have resigned on this basis. That we said 3 to 4 lakhs, it didn't happen, we are culpable. I think the culpability can't be avoided either, Shereen.
All right.
May I submit that humbly?
Culpability cannot be avoided. Dr. Mitra, thank you very much for joining us here. Appreciate your time joining us. Well, after nearly 2 years, the Reserve Bank has finally finished counting the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes that were sucked out in 2016. The result, almost all notes back in the system. Here are the numbers. 15.4 lakh crore rupees that were withdrawn, 15.3 lakh crores back in the banks. That is 99.3% of the total notes that were sucked out of circulation. Now, just weeks after demonetization, the then Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi told the Supreme Court that the decision could wipe out between 3 to 4 lakh crore rupees worth of illicit cash. That has clearly not happened. The exercise has cost the economy, with the RBI acknowledging the same, that there was a loss of speed in real GDP. We're now joined by former RBI Deputy Governor R. Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi was at the Reserve Bank when demonetization was rolled out. Mr. Gandhi, the debate is now settled on how much of the currency has returned to the banking system. 99.3% has returned. It is clear, according to the Reserve Bank. How much is black and white? We don't know. The jury is still out on that. But if the objective, as per the government, was that black money would be removed from the system, that black money would be uncovered, that counterfeits would be uncovered, well, that objection has failed. In hindsight, would you today acknowledge that demonetization did not achieve its key objectives?
No, I don't agree with that kind of proposition, because one expectation was that a portion would not come back. That's right. That has not met with. That is all right. But that doesn't automatically mean that the demonetization exercise was not a success. That is not the issue. The issue is that I have been maintaining that even if the last piece has come back, it is also equally a success, because ultimately black money or black cash means that unaccounted money, unaccounted cash. Now, when every piece has come back to the account, that means that it is accounted. So that is also equally a success. That's the position I have always maintained. Even today also I will maintain that way.
But this is a matter still under investigation, sir, and how much of the black has been converted to white, how much will finally be accounted for as black money, we don't know. But the question then is, sir, was demonetization necessary to ensure that this objective that you just articulated is met? I mean, could there not have been other ways of being able to get the black money into the system? I mean, the Prime Minister sold this as an exercise to do away with black money as well as do away with counterfeits. Today, the government says counterfeits are minute, that it's not a problem at all. What about the cost to the economy, the cost to the banking system that was paralyzed virtually because people were busy counting notes? Has the cost of this exercise been worth it?
Hey, demonetization, if you are measuring only one type of the success that I had told you, but that is not happened, that's a different story. But that doesn't mean that demonetization is a failure or anything. Once the information has come on to the books, once all the cash has come on to the books of some account, then it is the duty of the tax administration, the government authorities to collate that information, analyze it, and go behind the black money holders. So that is a long exercise. Earlier also we did know that it is a question of some 3 years of exercise. It cannot be just within 1 year. You cannot ferret out all those information. That's not possible. So you have to wait out for the full benefits of demonetization. You have to wait for a medium term. It is not immediate. So that part also we have to note. Then second part, whether the impact on the economy, that was always, even at that time itself, everybody considered that India, and for 1 or 2 quarters, there will be disturbance in the economic growth. That was well documented. That is well accepted. We are not, that's right, we are not here to judge whether the demonetization exercise was successful on that count or not. That I am not expert in that area. That you may have to pose that question to somebody else, whether that kind of cost to the economy was good or not good. That part we have to wait. That's what I would say, because the full benefits of demonetization, from the beginning everyone knew that it will happen only over 3 years. So before 3 years, if you would go on saying that the cost was heavy, cost was heavy upfront, everyone knew that cost was upfront. That benefit you have to wait.
So you're saying that the country needs to wait for at least 3 years to establish whether demonetization as an exercise has worked or not. But Mr. Gandhi, I come back to you again to the point that former Finance Minister Mr. Chidambaram made, sir, that these objectives uncovering black money are going after people who are non-filers. Could this not have been achieved through other measures? You have data analytics, you have intelligence information. I mean, could you not have used the tax department to achieve these objectives as opposed to putting the country through demonetization?
See, the other ways of doing tackling black money, that's for the government to think about it. That's a different idea. See, the benefits of this demonetization exercise, as I said, over the medium term, one of the 2 metrics we should look forward is the extent of tax compliance and the number of tax payers increasing. So that we will be seeing, we will be able to see that trend. As of now, of course, last year the number has definitely increased, and that we have to see the consistency thereof in the next years also. Then it will mean, because now that they have brought to account, they cannot escape paying taxes on that income, right? So that is what was expected. That's one which will approve.
Okay. Mr. Gandhi, I want to go back to the comments you made right at the very beginning. You said that the 3 to 4 lakh crores, that was what Mukul Rohatgi, the former Attorney General, had told court as well. That was the estimation that would not come back into system. That was the expectation. What do you believe went wrong?
No, that was I never expected that to happen, in the sense that can happen. But as an implementer, we knew that either thing can happen. That the entire money may come back also. That also we knew. That's a possibility. And some portion and the other alternative of some money not coming was also a possibility. So that's why I was not surprised when the whole money has come back. So I am not surprised at all. It was not my expectation that necessarily some money should not come. That was not my expectation.
Well, that's interesting, sir, that as a former RBI Deputy Governor, you're saying you're not surprised that 99.3% of the currency that was pulled out is back in the banking system. You're saying that you, in fact, expected that to be the case. Mr. Gandhi, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18. On the other side, after nearly 2 years, the Reserve Bank has finally finished counting the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes that were sucked out in 2016. The result, well, almost all the notes are back in the system. Here are the numbers. 15.4 lakh crore rupees worth of notes were withdrawn, 15.3 lakh crores back with banks. Now, this is 99.3% of the total notes that were sucked out of circulation. Just weeks after demonetization, the then Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi told the Supreme Court the decision could wipe out between 3 to 4 lakh crore rupees worth of illicit cash. That has not happened. The exercise has cost the economy, with the RBI itself acknowledging the same, saying that there was loss of speed in the real GDP. The note ban exercise did have a significant impact on the GDP growth. India lost its status as the world's fastest growing economy soon after the decision. Growth dropped from 8% in FY16 to 7.1% in FY17 and then to 6.7% in FY18. For this financial year, growth is expected to pick up to 7.4%. There have been some benefits if you look at the government's argument. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says demonetization has led to a lot of people in possession of undeclared cash, depositing the same in the banking system. The source of money was now questioned. Almost 18 lakh people were identified who had made deposits disproportionate to the income. The government also claims that this exercise has helped increase India's tax base. But here are two economists who believe that the growth in tax revenue and compliance cannot be attributed to demonetization alone. Listen in.
Much of the growth in income tax revenue has been due to GST. In fact, you see, you can also see the international experience in that. When Thailand introduced GST way back in 93, the revenue neutral rate was 10%. They levied the tax at 7%. Their income tax revenue increased by 25%. This is because I see that formalizes the economy, and most of the people, and so let us not attribute it to the wrong causes. So I think GST, I still think that revenue buoyancy will continue.
In personal income tax, of course, the returns have increased. But if we look at data from 2005-06, such part in return has happened without demonetization also. So demonetization might have helped, but we need to really separate out how much is due to demonetization, how much is the natural growth. If a person who is in informal sector wants to register under GST, has to have a PAN number. So the point is that also helps formalization. So attributing increase in return only to demonetization probably is not correct. I think we have to look at the other changes that has pushed formalization, and one of the major factors pushing formalization is GST. So we have to separate these out. And of course, there is a fear psychosis that might have helped in terms of increasing the number of returns. Compliance might have improved. But how much of it is only due to demonetization is very difficult to find.
Well, two economists there weighing in on the government's argument that demonetization has in fact been successful because it has enhanced direct tax collections by way of bringing more filers into the system. Joining us now, Chair Professor of the Reserve Bank, Gemini Bhagwati, former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Birmani, Congress spokesperson Gaurav Vallabh, and BJP spokesperson Syed Zafar Islam. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Mr. Bhagwati, if I may start by asking you, sir, the government's argument is don't look at demonetization merely from the prism of the banknotes that have returned into the banking system. But the narrative and the goalposts have shifted over the last 2 years on what the objectives were of demonetization. If the objective was black money being removed from the system or black money being accounted for, if it was tax compliance, which as we've just heard, other factors can also be attributed to the formalization of the economy, which has led to better compliance when it comes to taxes. The political parties are calling this a Mea Culpa moment for the government, saying that the government must apologize for putting the country and the economy through this kind of hardship. How would you read what has happened with this story 2 years on? Mr. Bhagwati? Let me put that question then to Dr. Birmani. Dr. Birmani, the same question to you, sir. How would you read demonetization 2 years on? An exercise in futility or an exercise that continues to be a work in progress?
So let me start with your numbers first. They basically mean that 0.7% of the currency which was demonetized was, in a sense, didn't come back. Now, if we look at the last demonetization, the number was about 1.8%. So this is about 2/5 of the number in the earlier demonetization. So in that sense, I would definitely say it was disappointing. I can go into the reasons. You've been asking other people. I have a reason actually, but I'll come back to that if you are interested in it. Now, what about the rest of it? I think there were two.
Please go ahead, sir.
You know, the one is objectives. The planned objectives, etc. I don't want to get into, because as I wrote, within a week of demonetization, I would never have done it. I wouldn't expect a huge gain from demonetization. So that is not the issue I'm addressing. But I did say that there were 2 or 3, call it collateral benefits, which I was expecting. One was in terms of the discussion you just had in terms of income tax compliance and so on. You know, you can, both the economists who you just played out said that you should not attribute it all to demonetization. I don't think any economist can attribute it all to demonetization. The question obviously becomes, did it have a positive effect? I am clear that it had a positive effect. How much is due to that and how much is due to GST is an empirical question which will take at least 2-3 years. We don't know the effects of GST right now. So that's number 2. The third point I would make is that in terms of black money, there was a lot of discussion about real estate over the last 4 years. People were saying, why are you not doing, there's a huge stack of money in real estate, black money, and you're not doing anything about it. So I expected some effect of demonetization on the real estate sector. The only evidence we have is a fall in prices about 30% in Delhi and Bombay. Now, whether that effect of that will last, how long it will last, whether the conventional ratios of 60-40 have changed dramatically and will remain so, one doesn't have the data to judge that in a permanent way. But I think there was some effect for a year or two.
Let me ask a pointed question. Oh, some effect on real estate, but let me ask you a pointed question. So you said in your opening comment that you would not have done it. In hindsight, given what we have seen, whether it's currency back in the banking system, the impact on the economy, the cost of the exercise itself, do you believe it was a mistake?
I wrote a full blog on it within a week of the demonetization. And in that, I said that the immediate effect will be disastrous. When you withdraw so much money from the economy, there will be a disastrous immediate effect. That effect happened. I have also subsequently, a month or two later, maybe 6 months later, estimated the exact cost in terms of GDP. That was 1.2% of the next 2 quarters, which would roughly come to about 0.6% of GDP for the year as a whole. So those were the costs. The costs are very clear. The benefits are elusive. As we said, we can't even decide for, completely whether how much of it is due to black money, how much due to GST. That is correct. So there's no way to judge right now whether, how bad the net effect is.
Okay, so let me put that point then to Jaimini Bhagwati. Dr. Arvind Birmani, the former chief economic advisor, saying he would never have done it, that the costs are significant and the benefits are elusive. Your point of view, sir, ill-conceived idea?
Let me put it this way, that the costs were huge, but the benefits potentially were also huge. Let me repeat a few numbers from the finance minister's speech of 1st of February 2017. He said that there were 1.5 lakh deposits on average of 3.3 crores of cash. That's roughly something like 4.95 crore, 4.95 lakh crores of rupees. Another number he gave, which was 1.1 crore deposits of 5 lakhs each. So that's another 5 lakh crores. So that's roughly 10 lakh crores were just these two kind of depositors. Now compare that to a total number of 1.7 lakh people who declare incomes above 50 lakhs per annum. So for me, frankly, the most important element of this exercise was to try and expand the direct income tax base. Now, from 1st of February 2017 till now, I'm somewhat dismayed to see that, for one thing, I was surprised that the government did away with 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee notes, but introduced a 2,000 rupee note. Whether it is the United States, whether it is the Eurozone, they have in fact done away with the high currency notes because, as we all know, high currency notes facilitates transactions in cash. Now we keep hearing these anecdotal stories about how in real estate transactions in the large cities, a substantial amount is paid under the table in cash. Now you can't do that in 100 rupee notes. Now, so there was, for me, a dissonance between the stated objectives of the government and some of the actions it took. Now, you also, I think, you see, the audio was on and off, so I kind of kept hearing you sometimes and not at other times. I thought I heard you ask Dr. Virmani whether the net, was it a good thing or not? I think net ex ante is very difficult to say. Whether it is Dr. Manmohan Singh or Mr. Chidambaram in their capacities as finance ministers, or in the case of Dr. Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister, I didn't see them do much about widening the tax base. I didn't hear them talk much about real estate or other transactions which take place in cash. This government has talked about these things, but have they walked the talk? Essentially, I would expect them now to walk their talk, because I think the Department of Revenue has the numbers. I mean, I ask you, how much did you deposit? I deposited 30,000 rupees or so in cash in the bank when
I deposited less than that, sir. I deposited less than that.
So who are these people who deposit on average 3.5 crores each? I mean, you know, and are these people within the tax net? It shouldn't be that difficult to find out, because when they deposited that money, they had to give in their PAN number. So what is going on? That statement by the finance minister was in February of 2017. We are at the end of August 2018. So you're saying that there is a dissonance. There is a dissonance.
So you're saying that there is a dissonance between the stated objectives, words and action. And it's time for the government to walk the talk. Let me take that now across to Gaurav Vallabh of the Congress, and then I'll get Zafar Islam to respond. Gaurav Vallabh, you know, whether it's the TMC or it's the Congress party, your former finance minister, Mr. Chidambaram, speaking to me, said that this is a mea culpa moment for the government, and the government must apologize and accept culpability for putting the country and the economy to this kind of hardship. What are you going to do now from here on?
See, as we are again and again pointing out that this is the biggest misadventure one can have post-independence. And people are talking about the revenue benefits and revenue cost, or monetary benefits and monetary cost. But Shereen, what is the value of 150 people who lost their life in the lines, standing in the lines? Why when the GDP got reduced post-demonetization from 8.2 to current 6.7%, what is this? The GDP loss is around 2.25 lakh crore. So what is this not the loss? And there is a saying in Hindi, Lord ke buddhu ghar ko aaye. Now, the new notes, you know what is the current current value? 18,037 billion rupee, more than post-demonetization. The same government which used to say cash to GDP, this to GDP is high, now they are more than the post-demonetization zone. And why 50,000 SMEs shut down in Tamil Nadu itself after demonetization? 1 crore people had lost their jobs in the informal sector, and we are talking about benefits. There is no benefit. Even a semi-qualified economist can't say that there is any benefit in the demonetization.
Okay, that's the view of the Congress party. Syed Zafar Islam, you have two economists stating very clearly here that they are not very clear about the benefits. The benefits are elusive. The government now needs to walk the talk. And as far as the opposition is concerned, this has been a flop show. This is a scam of laundering black money into white.
Well, Shereen, let me respond to your question, as well as I will address in the process to two economists as well as the Congress spokesperson. First of all, the Honorable Prime Minister, in one stroke of pen, had achieved many objectives of the government, and you needed a political will, and which was demonstrated by the Honorable Prime Minister by taking this route of demonetization, because the deep-rooted corruption and black money, you couldn't have had any other solution but to resort to this particular solution.
Sir, but what is the black money? Can you please tell us? No, Zafar, 1 second.
Exactly. Let me just come back. Yeah,
there is
I'm coming back.
No, 1 minute, sir.
I'm coming back to you.
1 minute. Yeah, there is no accounting for the black money as of now. That is a work in progress, as and when the investigative agencies of the income tax department were to arrive at that number, but we don't have that number today, so you cannot make a claim that it has helped achieve the objective of illicit money being ascertained. Yes.
Shereen, allow me to complete, please. I mean, one of Mr. Bhagwati gave you two statistics, and I think it is important for all of us to examine that statistic. One, the number of people deposited the large cash of money that was in the system, that was in circulation, but these people were not filing income tax returns. They were non-filers, but still they have deposited money, and their PAN number is there, and we know who are the people who are holding this cash. And how many such people are there? So numbers that numbers, as Mr. Bhagwati has already stated, there are 3.04 accounts, such accounts, which is being investigated, and actively 2.09 point accounts, which has actually being investigated currently by the income tax department. Some people have voluntarily, on their own assessment, they have paid tax which they were paid in the past. But based on the investigation, I'm sure there are many such accounts will be there where the tax liability will be there and they will have to pay. Secondly, their second advantage, let me tell you, the number of shell companies, more than 3 lakh shell companies which were being operative, they were doing all illegal transaction. That has been struck off from the ROC, Register of Companies, because these were all doing illegal transaction. The informal economy, people used to call parallel economy, that has not been, we have put an end to the parallel economy. Now that has slowly become part of the parallel economy.
So that is a claim,
part of the formal economy.
Zafar Islam, that is a claim that you make.
Shireen,
that is a claim that you make that the informal economy,
it is evident from the fact
parallel economy. But
you cannot see the advantage on one day, but one more thing I'll tell you. One more thing.
I'm looking at the numbers.
Tax collection.
Sure, go ahead.
Tax base.
Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I'm talking about the number. The tax collection, it has gone up by 18%. Even though you are talking about GDP, there is a dip in GDP because the consumption level had come off. And eventually it had, temporarily it will, because there was a disruption in the economy, temporarily it has impacted the GDP growth, but it is only because temporarily people shifted their consumption. But it didn't impact the tax revenue. The tax collection has gone up, and subsequently, let me very quickly. There are other structural reform which has been undertaken by the Honorable Prime Minister. In totality, everything is put together. Economy is in order, and also we have taken a concrete step against the black money and black market here.
Thank you for your comments. Got a very quick response, and then I want to go to the economist, please.
See, Shereen, whatever benefits he is telling, the same benefits we can achieve easily by using analytics. He is not aware of that. Can't we find out by using analytics that by spending pattern, by the withdrawal pattern from the banks, that who is doing what? Are we supposed to take 150 people's life for doing that thing? That is not justified at any level. And second thing, see, the biggest loss is to the SME sector, Shereen.
Yes.
Tamil Nadu data I am giving because that data was quoted in Tamil Nadu Assembly. That 50,000 SMEs were closed because of
Shereen, can I just come in, please?
If we take country as a whole, It's
Okay.
not less than 10 lakh.
Sir,
and 1
sir.
crore people lost their jobs.
So,
and you are saying benefits.
Okay.
What kind of benefits?
Let me go back across to Gemini Bhagwati as well as Arvind Virmani. No, Zafar, I'll come back to you, please. I need to go to my other guest. Mr. Bhagwati, let me come to you. You've heard the argument that the BJP spokesperson is presenting. That's the government's point of view on why they believe that demonetization has been a success. Your point on the dissonance between what was articulated by the finance minister in February and what has happened at the end of August. What do you make of claims being made?
Well, all I can say is that when you look at the claims and when you look at the situation on the ground, the best way, and I want to make this appeal through the medium of your channel to the Honorable Finance Minister, that it is high time that he should present a white paper on this issue on the, in Parliament to outline what has been the cost and what are the benefits till now and what are the potential benefits to widen the tax space. Because it's very difficult to separate out from all the noise, you well understand what I'm referring to, from opposing political camps. Because when I look at this argument, which has been advanced today too, that there are ways of extracting information from the data in which is available with RBI, with our income tax department, and without having to resort to demonetization, take steps which will, in a very concrete manner, expand the tax base. But look at the record of our past governments, and I don't want to get into political party A or political party B. You look at the experience of the last 30, 40 years, and you go around Mumbai or anywhere, you keep hearing about so many egregious examples of tax evasion. Now, having said that, so now if government has decided to take this big step and subject the people to considerable cost and the economy too, I would like to hear from the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, in Parliament, outline to us what his tax department has done between 1st of February 2017 till now. I'm asking a very specific question, not a question of, he doesn't have to necessarily say, well, this has happened and then that has happened, because it's not mathematics. You can't make it as simple as 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. But I'd like to hear what are the steps which have been taken and what will be the further steps that this government will take to widen the tax base. Because, you know, this business of having a 2,000 rupee note, this business of having legislation which all political parties connived at to allow foreign contributions, to have this stuff about anonymous bonds for corporates to contribute towards the funding of political parties, somehow that is not consistent with this overall approach of widening the tax base and making our economy more transparent.
Okay, good points that you bring up, that a lot of the actions that have followed post-demonetization
Shereen, can I just come?
Okay, present a white paper in Parliament. Let me come to you. No, 1 second, sir. I'll come to Dr. Virmani and then I'll come to you. Dr. Virmani, Gemini Bhagwati wants a white paper that the Finance Minister should present in Parliament to explain to the country the benefits that have accrued on account of this exercise, raising legitimate concerns about the actions that have followed. So one, we have seen some structural reforms which the government says are a part of the measures along with demonetization, but there have been others where more opaqueness has been brought in, electoral bonds, for instance, being a point in question. What is it that you would like to hear from the government, Dr. Virmani?
See, I think, you know, I normally deal with numbers and data. But I would like to say one thing. I think there was an effort, perhaps I don't agree with all the steps which have been taken, to change the atmosphere on corruption. What Gemini is saying now is that there is not a consistent approach. But you know, I have seen this corruption grow over the last 50 years. In 2002, that is 15 years ago, I wrote a paper which was published in EPW. Okay, so this corruption problem is huge. You can't just solve it by 1 or 2 measures. You need political reform, you need bureaucratic reform, you need legal and judicial reform, and so on. So, I think there was for a time an effort to change the attitude of people to this whole issue of corruption and tax evasion. Germany is saying that perhaps it's not been very consistent. you know, he's probably followed it better. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Zafar Islam, I'll give you the final say. Walk the talk, sir. Walk the talk is the consensus here on the panel.
Well, Shereen, there are two things which I would like to address in 30 seconds, what you are giving me. First, the intent of the government, and especially I'm talking about our government, India government, is never to inconvenience people of this country, because most people I'm talking about, the honest citizen who are paying taxes. Yes, they had to go through some problem, and we are apologetic, but this step had to be taken in the interest of the nation. Secondly, what I'm trying to tell you, that whatever the benefits which is very, very apparent, and people have definitely endorsed, because it is not a one-time effort. The fight against corruption, fight against black money is a continued process, and as Mr. Vermani and others are talking about, this is not one-time initiative, because the government is determined, the Honorable Prime Minister is determined that we will continue to fight against black money and against corruption, and the honest citizen definitely should be the beneficiary, which is our focus, which is also happening on the ground.
All right. Okay, Gaurav, 10 seconds, please.
I agree with the economists on the panel, but I am asking that how much black money got collected? Earlier they used to say 3 lakh crore will come, now nothing. Then they used to say interest rate will come down, interest rates are increasing. Then they were saying plastic currency or cashless will go up, the cashless is back to normal. See, tell me a single advantage. You can't experiment with the economy. It is an economy of 134 crore people. You can't experiment with the poor people. You can't ask them to stand on the line and lose their lives on standing on the lines.
Well, this debate will continue, and as each of our panelists have pointed out, we still need to see empirical evidence on what this exercise has actually meant. The costs are clearly articulated in the slowdown as far as growth is concerned, the impact on small and medium enterprises, this being acknowledged by the Reserve Bank itself. But what are the benefits? As the former RBI Deputy Governor told me, perhaps we need the next 3 to 5 years to be able to figure that out. But for now and for this evening, Gemini Bhagwati, Arvind Vidmani, Gaurav Vallabh and Syed Zafar Islam, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18.